Hanna.
And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas.
For all your horror movie needs.
This week, we are talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the OG, was released in 1974, directed by Tobe Hooper, written by Kim Hinkle and Tobe Hooper. It was lightly based off real-life murderer Ed Gein. And Ed Gein was also known for wearing a human's scalp and face. The film was produced for less than $140,000 and used a cast of relatively unknown actors from Texas where the film was shot. And because the budget was so limited, it forced them to film for super long hours a day, 7 days a week, so they could finish as soon as possible. And you can definitely see that in the movie.
And it makes it all the better.
And I know you had some other background that you wanted to share, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would say... People always try to say, oh, you couldn't make this movie nowadays, and it's usually bullshit and not true. This is the one movie you could not make nowadays because all the constraints that led to this being made just don't fly anymore with like actors unions, things like that. I mean, they had these kids in a 100-degree farmhouse for long hours. And I know in one scene, something I've always heard that we looked up and made sure it was true was that when Leatherface cuts Sally's finger to feed the blood to Grandpa,
they did it.
Yeah, they kept messing the scene up. So Gunnar Hansen, who is Leatherface, decided to take the like rubber tip off the knife that was supposed to protect it, just cut her hand for real because he was just pissed that it wasn't going. Cuts her hand, she's bleeding, puts it in Grandpa's mouth, and all of that just happened for real.
Yeah. So going into it, I had never seen it before this watch through. And I knew that little tidbit about Grandpa and the blood. That's
why I tried to sell it to her.
Yeah, and it did the opposite. I was unwell, and I am still unwell. My expectations that I jotted down was, I'm expecting gory, and I hate gory. I'm unwell thinking about feeding Grandpa blood. I was told that filming conditions were disgusting and really hot, and I'm already experiencing anxiety over this. And overall, not excited.
And for me, I'd seen this movie before a few times. And the first time I ever saw it, I remember I watched it all on YouTube. So it was watched where back in the day on YouTube, if you guys remember, you could only upload like 10-minute clips, right? And so when you could only upload 10-minute clips, they had to upload the whole movie in like 8 parts, right? This is an 80-minute movie. So I watched all of it in broad daylight on my computer monitor in middle school or high school, just 10 minutes at a time. And what can I say? I instantly loved it. Was a big fan. I just think this movie, and we'll get to this, but just like oozes texture. And just the way it looks and feels is just like nothing I'd really seen before.
It's something. But before we get too deep, let's do our 15-second summary. So I made you go first last week. I did not prepare anything, so I'm going off the cuff. So you can time me.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Go.
A group of teens are in Texas, go to dude's family home and encounter butcher.
That's all you got?
I don't know. I could tell I was coming up on it. Murderous butcher?
You had time.
Cannibal butcher?
Yeah.
I mean, I only needed like one more adjective. I feel like that was good. Okay. Your turn. And go.
A group of teens break into a family's house and harass them. They were just hungry. And,
What the fuck? That's
all
it.
right, sorry. That's it.
Okay. They were just hungry. I would say that was not my takeaway.
No, definitely not. I was joking.
So, while watching, again, this is my first time watching, the Hanna hide count was at just 1, so far less than Insidious. Scream count, again, just 1. But my ew count, which is a new count for this week, was at 5. I found myself very disgusted by like every part of the movie.
That's exactly what it's going for.
I know, it's definitely what it's going for, but I expected as much, but It started when the hitchhiker cut himself with Franklin's knife. It kept...
And then wiped it all over.
Yep.
Yeah.
It kept going when our girl, who is not Sally...
I don't even think of her name.
Pam something. When she falls into the room with all of the, like, bones and bird feathers. I have a fear of birds. So that shit made me want to vomit.
That scene goes on forever. It just keeps cutting between, like, the chicken,
it went
the
on
bones.
for
It really
20
wants to
fucking
show
years,
off the skin lamps.
and I was like, God damn it, I never want to see another bird again in my life.
It's a great
It wasn't
scene.
even the bones, it was just the bird feathers, honestly, which disgusted me. And it makes me think maybe we should watch Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, but I also don't know if I would
haven't seen that one.
be able to go outside. You didn't really make any noise or hide or care.
I'd seen it before.
Yeah.
I was having a great time, to be honest.
I could tell.
I really enjoy this.
So, like, general thoughts for you, they're very positive. Do you find it scary?
Yes. I find myself, I'll get into the reasons I like it and just things I'm thinking about. But from Act 1 and Act 2 are like straightforward slasher movie, right? Like, it kind of sets up some teens doing some dumb stuff. A bunch of them get killed. Mm-hmm. And it's in pretty, like, fun ways. It's all during the daytime, too, which I think is fun. This is, like, a movie that was known for making daytime scary when all the other horror movies were more like nighttime. Introduces, like, 3 fantastic villains with the cook, the hitchhiker, and Leatherface, who all just have, like, a ton of personality. But I think what really stands out is, like, Act 3 goes just all into, like, what I would call just exploitation film. Just, like, horrific, like, woman trapped by the family. They have her at the dinner table making her eat, and then eventually, like, just saying that they're going to kill her, but they're really taking their time, and it, like, just unnerves me, like, completely. I put myself in her shoes. I think about, like, just being in that trapped, like, helpless situation, and I think, like, the family just being so, like, sadistic, and I guess it's just, like, the amount of personality they have that makes it all the more scary for me. So it's not like it's a, like, there are moments that make me scared. It's more like a consistent, just, like, dread feeling that I have throughout this. And I think it just does such a fantastic job at that.
Yeah, I didn't love it the way you loved it. I also didn't love you just were like, I liked it, and here's why. I'm not even going to ask you
sorry.
if you liked it, bitch.
I get too excited.
I know. I think it's really good at doing what it's trying to do, which is make you feel uncomfortable and tense and all of that. Mm-hmm. Same with, like, Hereditary, like, it makes you feel kind of disgusted, but I wouldn't say that I found it, like, that scary, and I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I also don't know if I was supposed to enjoy it. So, pros and cons.
I really enjoy it, but I think it's because I know what I'm getting into.
Yeah, maybe I would like it again, or, like, more
on second viewing, or, like, showing it to somebody else. Because I'm sure I'll talk about this later, but it feels like I shouldn't be watching it. Especially in that third act, I feel like I'm seeing something I shouldn't be seeing.
Well, the third act just treats Sally so horribly.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
It's incredible.
And, like, that poor actress, like, was going through it. I mean, her finger was really cut. It was really that hot. She's really being chased by these guys.
And this goes to, like, let's talk about why film is just, like, great. Like, I'm not going to be a film snob and say, like, film over digital, but just, like, the sweat you see on these people is, like, it just adds so much to it. Like, you can just see everything. There's so much grain and texture. I was going to say,
that's definitely one of the things that I did really like about the movie.
It's gorgeous.
Rob Zombie said, it looks like someone turned on a camera and started killing people.
Yeah.
And I agree. I feel like there's something really, really authentic about it. It doesn't necessarily feel like I'm sitting down to, like, watch a movie in the way that a lot of other movies feel. It really just does feel like we're there and we're not supposed to be there. Real. I will also say that, like, obviously some of the shots, you're watching a movie and some of those shots are stunning. The way that it's framed, it'll be like the skyline with the van really small in a corner. I just thought, like, the framing was all done really, really well.
And most of it was done on, like, basically a handheld camera.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I looked it up. Like, it was, It was impressive. That tracking shot.
Yeah.
Following not Sally. I can't remember her name as she walks into the house before.
Did I say Pam? Yeah, I think her name's Pam.
Before she encounters Leatherface for the first time.
She's looking hot with that backless shirt. Mm-hmm. Which I also think, like, the way they dressed her versus Sally is very deliberate. And we'll probably talk about that. But something else.
Just Final Girl slasher stuff, or you think more? Or am I getting too far ahead?
Getting too far ahead,
All right. We'll come back.
I also thought it was really cool how much, like, foreshadowing was in this. When they're in the van, they talk about so many things where I was like, all right, well, you're just telling me what to expect, I guess. Like, they are reading horoscopes about how, like, they're going to have a bad day. And, like, the gas station man's tells them not to go.
The gas station man's is the cook, though.
I know, which is funny. But, like, there's so many instances of telling them, you know, it's going to be a bad day, or don't do this. Or, like, then you have Franklin rolling down a hill, poor guy.
After trying to pee.
In his wheelchair, just trying to pee. And it's just like, all right, well, we're not starting well for this group. So I thought that was a really cool element. And I also, along with that, I did think this film does a great job of increasing tension.
Well, can we talk about, like, that, just the opening itself? Like, it sets you up for everything.
That's what I was about to say.
Sorry.
Like, it starts out with the immediate shots of dead bodies.
And that's very clearly, like, the sound of a camera, right? And it's, like, the flash, and it's, like, clearly, like, police seeing that. And then they finally open to this, like, close to wide shot, where it goes from close, zooming out to wide, of, like, this, like, dead body that has been put up on dug up and put up on a headstone, and just completely, like, destroyed and, like, messed with. And it zooms out, and then we cut to, like, the teenagers in the car. And I feel like that just immediately... And this body, I mean, it looks like they dug up a dead body. It was, like, wet, just dripping, and I mean...
I think I had, like, my first ew of the movie, like, immediately.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I was like,
It's beautiful. It looks so good.
I hope that scream wasn't too loud, but that's how I felt. Yeah, it looked really good. It was immediately disgusting, and I think it really works to build the tension right off the bat. I also think, like, one of the things that I really enjoyed was when they're looking for someone to get gas from. They go so long before they find someone, where they're just kind of, like, walking the property trying to find someone that could give them gas, and they're like, is there someone here? Is there someone there? And the longer they go without interacting with another human, I kept feeling more and more tension.
Like, Act 1, in my opinion, if we're going 3-act structure, does not end until Leatherface kills the first person, which is, like, probably 30 minutes into an 80-minute movie. Right? It's not until he enters the house. It's as they look, you know, they go from the gas station, they don't have gas there, they go to their house, they're messing around there until eventually they find another house. Maybe they'll have gas. Yeah. And that's when we have our first kill, which is pretty out of nowhere.
Oh,
he stumbles in.
Well, okay. It might be kind of out of nowhere, but, like, dog, you just walked into an abandoned house.
You didn't expect some dude wearing a skin mask, wielding a hammer and an apron to just smash him in the head immediately.
I'm just walking to a stranger's house, I don't expect to get murdered, but I don't expect it to go well. Like, common sense, homie.
Either way, but from that point, the movie just accelerates from that point on.
Yeah.
Which I think is really
No, it
really
definitely
fun.
does. Another part that I thought, like, the tension that I really appreciated was, like, when Sally's running for forever. It, like, takes 15 minutes, maybe, of, like, a 70-minute movie. She's going for so long. But when her hair gets stuck in the bushes... Holy shit. I was like, she's all over from here, man.
That might be one of the best horror chase scenes I've ever seen. Because I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, this is just to be expected with a slasher. And I know this is 1974, so this is, like, pretty early slasher era.
Yeah, I think that's
But, like, that scene was, like, tense. She goes from the house. She makes, like, almost what I would say most of the right decisions in running, and it still just doesn't pay off. Because she goes running into the house and immediately finds one dead grandma and... basically half-dead grandpa goes out the window and is chasing. There's this amazing shot that happens a couple times, and you'll know what I'm talking about, where it's her in front and then Leatherface behind her, and it's shot in a way that his whole body is taking up the background screen and she's in, like, the foreground. And there's no other background other than him, and he just looks massive coming after her. And it's tense. It makes him look much closer than he actually is.
Can we also just talk about, if you're being chased, and this happens in every movie... So we all need to learn from this. Don't go upstairs.
She was looking for help, though.
Yeah,
I understand.
well,
Don't go upstairs.
Don't go upstairs, because then you get stuck upstairs. It's harder to get back down the
She went
stairs.
right. What do you mean? She went right out the window.
Well, she could have, like, died. Well, then it would have been over, so, you know, pros and cons. But, like, what if she, like, severely busted her fucking ankle going out that window? Surprise, she basically did.
Yeah.
But, like... I'm a ween.
I'm not going to
running
complain.
After that. I don't know. No, I'm not complaining about the movie. I'm not complaining about this decision, because when we're, like...
But in that scene... Sorry, what?
Interruptions, Buster
right.
Brown. I lost my train of thought, so you can...
I was going to say I really like the irony of that we know that the house is not safe, but she doesn't at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So she goes running in upstairs thinking there's protection and immediately is just in a room with, like I said, like a rotting corpse of grandma, and then grandpa's like half rotting alive corpse there. Immediately just like, it's over, right? She's got to go out the window.
Would you say that chase scene's your favorite scene in the movie?
No.
Okay, me either.
It is not.
Okay. What's your favorite scene then?
My favorite scene is the dinner scene, easily. That's what everyone will say.
That's not what I would say.
Absolutely. The second they have her there and they're just like, yeah, we're having her over for dinner, and they feed her blood to grandpa, and then she's screaming and the whole family's screaming back and like laughing back at her and arguing amongst themselves. Incredible.
Yeah, that's not mine.
What's your favorite?
See, I find it really hard with this movie because, like I said, I wasn't like having a ton of fun, so it's like hard to be like, this scene was the most fun, because it wasn't. But I think the scene that, like, did the most for me to make me feel things, and by things I mean discomfort, was when Pam falls into the room of all the bones and the bird feathers.
So is that, okay.
Like, literally that, like, extended scene of the nasty shit in the room. That's what got me the most, so I feel like I would have to say that was my favorite, because I just found it the most effective.
I like the way the amount of cuts it has. It's a very interesting edited scene from like her close-ups of her eyes, the feathers, the bones, the skin lamp, I think. Maybe I'm misremembering that being in there, but just the chicken, everything. I think it's very just like well done, and like does make you just very like uncomfortable and kind of skeeved out. Yeah.
Definitely skeeved a lot in this movie.
Yep.
I also think I liked the scene where Sally's running and runs into the gas station where the cook is.
Oh, and you don't know. Yeah.
You don't know that he's sketch until he's like, yeah, let me go outside and get the car, and leaves the door open, and then she sees the meat. I thought that was also really well done, and the way the tension kind of builds as you're waiting for... Then he beats her with a broom. Yeah, also, like, imagine you're being beat with a broom.
Yeah, it really, that's where it falls into that, like, exploitation film categories. It's just, like, you just see her go through, like, so much turmoil near the end, and it just gets worse and worse. But she does make it out. And she's scarred and destroyed for life. And they make it very clear in this one that, like, she's not okay. Yeah. And she's covered in blood in the back of a truck. Laughs, screaming, and then her screams turn to laughs as Leatherface dances with his chainsaw.
I really, really hope that girl got into therapy and, like, on some antidepressants. Maybe a Xanax prescription or medical marijuana.
She's messed up for life.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not be in that situation? Was there anything that didn't work for you? I feel like everything in this movie worked for you.
No, everything works. And I have to say one more thing that did work that I didn't mention.
Okay.
We're talking about like how good it looks, and I want to say the color, especially going from Insidious, where I kept complaining how gray it was. The colors are popping in this movie. It is beautiful looking. I think it's fun to do that, and it's genius because I want to look at it, and then they show me things on screen that I don't want to see. So I find myself being like, this movie's so pretty, and then I see a woman get put on a meat hook, and it's like I can't look away because it looks so pretty, but I'm like feeling it myself. Does that happen?
I never felt like it looked pretty.
You don't think those colors, those like yellows and blues popping?
Matt, that whole movie looks like, I mean, it's well shot, but it looks fucking disgusting. It looks
in the best way.
Sweaty and nasty. I love it. And
it looks like real life, like you and me.
Oh, I don't look that sweaty, nasty, and dirty. Like, it felt like watching it made me feel like I had just hiked 8 miles in like 100-degree weather. Like that.
And it almost looks like home video.
Yeah.
Which is even better. It's like, just, I think it's just real.
Is so well done, and well shot.
Yeah.
And,
I have nothing to complain.
but I wouldn't be like, it's beautiful.
We'll get to your complaints. I know you have some. I got nothing. I think
it's not that I have, like, complaints. Like, with Insidious, there are, like, definitely things to complain about. I just don't love torture porn. And I know this is not, like, torture porn. Like, we're not watching Saw 3.
It's exploitation.
But I think I feel like it's just not my genre.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my preference in a horror movie. So I just didn't vibe with it as much as I would have wanted, especially hearing how good it is. And I definitely understand that it's a very good movie. I would not say that it's not. It just wasn't for me. But it's not really like a complaint about the movie. It's just more like, it's just not
it's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a movie I just want to put on and make somebody who is unassuming and has no idea what's going to happen watch it.
Yeah, I definitely have friends that don't like horror that
you just want to put this
will
on.
be on this podcast later to torture them. I definitely would be interested to see their response to some of the scenes.
And if you do like horror, I feel like you're going to see a lot of influence, or like where influence of your favorite horror movies came from.
That's
I think
true.
there's just a lot of good stuff that's taken from this.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, especially like with the way it looks and the color, more horror movies could take from it. You can make daytime scary. Shout out to Midsommar. Made daytime scary
that's
again.
true.
There's like 2 movies that make daytime scary. It's Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Midsommar.
Hold on, I need to ponder this. Well, I haven't seen nearly as many horror movies as you, so I don't know. The Witch makes all day feel scary.
Sure.
But that's more of the tension. It's not really like, I don't know. Okay.
And all the scary stuff happens at night.
In The Witch?
Yeah. Them locked up in the shed and everything. That whole movie's scary. That's a good movie.
The whole movie leaves me feeling so tense. It's one of my faves.
I'm surprised
really
that you like that as much as you do, but don't like this, when I feel like the feeling that it invokes is very similar.
Who's to say?
They're both pretty gross, too, in their moments.
No.
You don't remember the crow breastfeeding, pegging her apart?
Yeah, I don't like that scene.
Oh, okay. All right.
But like,
I think this is pretty gross scenes, but fine.
Either way. What's this movie like mean to you? What do you feel like its purpose was? Its themes? Let's get into it. Let's break it down.
There's a ton of stuff in this.
I was gonna say I'm excited for when we get to a movie where like my brain doesn't have to work. Not that this is like I'm just.
I didn't think about it beforehand. I was like, there's a straightforward like slasher exploitation, but there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, for the
which
record,
is pretty fun.
Matt, before we chose this movie, goes, I feel like this is a good pick because, like, I don't think it's been, like, analyzed as much or, like, talked about as much.
I was apparently wrong.
And this is definitely one of the most analyzed horror movies in existence. And that's for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very, very clear.
Let's go with the obvious.
Vegetarianism.
was
This was a beautiful fucking ad for becoming a vegetarian.
Right from the opening.
Oh,
with Franklin talking about the slaughterhouse.
Immediately. They're talking about, like, killing cattle, how they used to do it before, and they wouldn't kill them on the first swing.
The sledgehammer.
With a sledgehammer, and they talked about, they'd skin them sometimes before they're even dead, so, like, talking about how heinously
I think
animals and cattle were treated.
That's supposed to be, like, Franklin is clearly, like, desensitized to violence against animals, like we all are, similar to how the family is desensitized to violence against people, because they're also eating people for food, right? And my quote, the cook says at one point, he says, I take no pleasure in killing, just some things you have to do, don't mean you have to like it, which is pretty much what everyone says about, eating chicken, eating cow, eating fish, all that stuff.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. They're, like, commenting, they're like, he's just the cook.
Oh, yeah, he's just the cook,
yeah.
complaining because, he only likes to cook when they do all the hard work, Leatherface and the Hitchhiker.
They also talk a lot about, like, off-the-body parts that they use. There's the scene when Leatherface shows up, he's, like, making pig noises, so it's pretty... It's, like, pretty right on the nose immediately there. And then he butchers the bodies. He, like, has the blood bucket. He hangs her on the fucking hook.
They also say that Grandpa was the best killer there was, and they make it very clear that he was actually one of those sledgehammer swingers at the slaughterhouse. And they also talk about, like, at one point they put a bunch of people out of business when they went to the airbolt for slaughtering.
I think that also
that's definitely another theme about,
yeah.
I don't want to say poverty, but, like,
I would say it's kind of like some of the consequences of, like, technological advancement.
I mean, and the families basically living in with prior to, like, technology other than chainsaws.
Yeah, I also think it's really interesting, like, looking at the way Leatherface kills. So he uses a sledgehammer, which has already been established as a way to kill cattle. He uses a meat hook, which we know is used when butchering meat.
Mm-hmm.
He has the freezer that he puts some of his meat in the form of Pam. And then there's the chainsaw, and I don't really know what to do with that. He only actually kills one person with the chainsaw.
It's Franklin.
And it's Franklin. But I don't really know what that is.
It's just scary.
Symbolic of.
It just sounds great.
Being scary.
Those scenes during the chase when you hear that chainsaw going and it's loud. He's not trying to hide. He's not, Michael Myers sneaking up on you. He goes loud.
Yeah, I'd love to know if there's some deeper meaning that we're just too dumb because.
Yeah, it might just be that it's scary. Chainsaws are scary.
It is scary. Also, every shot of meat in this movie is fucking disgusting, whether it's human meat or, well, I guess most of the time it's human meat, but even when it doesn't look like human meat. Disgusting. I know, but the shots of the meat really, like, immediately after this movie, I was like, oh, I'm gonna eat a salad every day for the rest of my life. Like, I'm not touching meat ever again.
All right, I want to jump onto another theme or just anecdote. And I said while we were watching this that I feel like you don't get a lot of wheelchair representation in movies. And I found that very weird that Franklin is in a wheelchair, and in the title crawl they call him invalid, which I'm very glad we don't use that word anymore. And I actually saw some people talking about this movie on Twitter recently, and they said it's interesting because, like, the treatment of Franklin by his friends is, like, pretty bad for the most part, but he is right in almost every decision and everything he says.
No, 100%.
Like, he is the most right of all of them.
Yeah.
So, like, clearly not very invalid, right? He's the smartest of them, but unfortunately, him being in the wheelchair definitely doesn't help. And they, like, really portray him as, like, almost a nuisance to his friends. And meanwhile, he's a sweet dude.
They definitely portray him as a nuisance. Like, he repeatedly faces ableism throughout his entire existence in the movie. He's not in the whole thing.
But he's always right. They should have listened to him.
But yeah, he's like, get in the car. Like, come on, Sally, get in the car. And she's like, no, Franklin, we have to go find them. And he's like, no, something's wrong. Like, we gotta go. The whole time, he is pretty sure what's up, and no one gives him the time of day. And I think it's definitely, showing that discrimination on behalf of his disability, and also telling us, fuck you for discriminating, because, like, look at this man. He's the only one with brain cells in this whole movie.
But you know who doesn't discriminate? Leatherface and the family. They kill. They're an equal opportunity cannibals.
So nice. So nice of them.
I'm not sure what else there is to say about Franklin, though. I know there might be something more going on there, but I do think it's, like, a very interesting choice to have him in a wheelchair, because I said you don't see it a lot. And if we didn't say it already, I would say all these actors were kind of knocking it out of the park. Like,
especially
really top
for,
to bottom.
Little known.
Yeah,
like,
little known.
They kind of just, like,
kids.
pulled people from Texas. They were like, oh, we don't have a budget.
They were really, I don't think there was a weak link.
Yeah.
Like, maybe some of the early killed friends, but even them, they kind of pull off this, like, kind of dumbass Texas teenagers.
I bought it.
From the 70s, yeah. I
bought it.
Great. All right, hit me with some more themes.
Well, I know I mentioned kind of, like, the consequences of technological advances, especially when we talk about the gun versus sledgehammer for killing cows. They said the old way with the sledge was better. They die better that way. And they also say the new way put people out of jobs. And
Grandpa.
We hear that shit all the time. And I think even now, modern day, we talk about that. Like, what happens when robots take all our jobs? So I think it definitely is making this point about, like, yes, technological advances can be really good, but there are consequences of that.
But that also means that some people want to hold us back and do more like grotesque or inhumane things just because it means more jobs. So it's kind of interesting. There's kind of
it's kind of like a double-edged sword there.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
I know. I think we'd also be remiss if we didn't talk more about gender in the movie.
Yes, I had this one written down too.
So there's definitely a big difference between how Pam, whose name you didn't even know, and Sally are treated in this movie. They're dressed very differently. Pam definitely has a lot more skin showing. Like, I was looking at her and I was like, damn, Pam is hot. Sally's also hot, but I was like, damn, Pam and this, like, backless shirt, like, I'm super into this fit. They definitely... Oh, and she's the one who's, like, going off with her boyfriend to, like, maybe hook up at the lake.
The dried up
pond.
creek, yeah.
Whatever it was. Body of water. And so she's definitely sexualized far more than Sally. And who's the first woman to go? Pam. And beyond Sally, who was the person who was tortured the most? Pam.
Yep. Exploitation film. We keep coming back to that.
I think.
But this is also a typical final girl thing to make them less promiscuous.
Oh, 100%. But like the moral superiority of Sally compared to Pam.
Yeah, and I would say like pretty much the most memorable kills are of the women. It's quick. The men are quick and not what's interesting.
Female suffering.
Yes.
Is the highlight.
Yes, very much so. But, and I think that's really interesting because, and I noted this before, was that it's a very deliberate choice to have no maternal presence in the family. To have grandma dead, no mom.
I would actually argue that there is a maternal presence in the family.
Leatherface?
Leatherface, have you noticed what scenes Leatherface is wearing a female mask?
When he's serving food.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When he's serving dinner and sitting down at dinner, and when he's cleaning.
And he's cleaning, yep.
Yeah.
And he wears the makeup mask and the suit.
Very deliberate.
Yes, and that's also really interesting for 1974. And I feel like that's, very, very deliberate choice. But maybe is it that he's filling the maternal role because there's no maternal figure? There's no grandma, there's mom's out of the picture, clearly. It's just Hitchhiker and Leatherface.
Because they're trying to capture this nuclear family, like the average family. Mom and dad and boy and grandpa, and grandma's dead, but she was there. Like, I don't know if they're just trying to capture the nuclear family, and then they're also, like, using that as a statement with, like, the consequences of progress and just discussing the general political landscape at the time. Like, I don't know if that is why.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's very clear that, like, the cook, who's dad to Hitchhiker and Leatherface, is, like, very abusive. And even Leatherface, who's this big, like, hulking person with a chainsaw who's had most of the kills, is, like, terrified of him. Which I thought was a very, like, well-constructed scene. I would also say it's very clear, we haven't mentioned, but, like, that Leatherface is definitely, like, intellectually disabled. And, like, is clearly...
And same with the other son.
Yeah, to a different degree, I guess. But yeah.
I mean, they're both,
like, stunted in different ways.
Yeah, I think they make it pretty clear that they both have some form of disability. And again, I don't know if that's to make some sort of statement or if that's just supposed to make these characters uncomfy. Like, I don't know.
Well, I would say, do you think part of the lack of maternal figure, if it's not Leatherface, is to say, like, this is what happens to men when they're left to their own devices? You know, they just leave chickens around, bones and feathers, and start eating people.
I hate that if that's what it's trying to do, because obviously you can have
men need
family.
Women in their life.
Obviously,
that's what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, that's a horrible message.
It is.
Obviously, you can have families with two male parents or just a single parent of either gender, and your kid will come out fine.
Yes.
So,
but I'm wondering
that if that's the point, and I kind of feel like this movie's too smart to be.
No, you probably make a good point. It just
message.
Something I was thinking when watching it is that's like, because you're right, that was like the nuclear family that was like being pushed in the 70s. That's still something that was being pushed and still getting pushed today.
Yeah.
But you're right. I don't know if I feel like it is smarter than that.
I like to think so. And that's why I think like I can't get as deep as I want to because I'm a dummy. And I think this movie is probably on some level too smart for me at this time in my life. Maybe like...
Too smart for a lot of people. He said it's one of the most analyzed movies of all time.
For sure.
And really, maybe we're just overthinking. Maybe Tobe Hooper was just like, I just wanted to make a scary movie.
No.
Oh, there's definitely some beyond that, no. But it is fun.
I think if we got so much out of Insidious,
that's true.
This was deliberate.
I think it is fun that you can see so much in this, and also it just like serves as just like very scary.
Can we also just talk about how it's a man that ultimately saves Sally
mm-hmm.
after all this?
I keep saying exploitation film. Like,
what is this saying about female agency?
No, that is just the. I want to say the trope of that type of film is that like it is about women suffering basically, and that's like the eye candy of the movie. It's really messed up, but it does entertain me. Especially when it looks good. But then this led to movies later to play on this trope and go the other way, like the movie Death Proof, one of Tarantino's movies, is like very much plays into the exploitation film and then flips it on its head, where the women become the like torturers of the bad guy. Yeah, spoilers for Death Proof.
I also, and this is not coming from my brain, so I'm just going to disclose that right off the bat. When I was kind of like looking into the movie, the director and writer, Hooper, has cited changes in the cultural and political landscape as central influences on the film. So, we obviously talked about that a little bit, but his intentional misinformation, such as in the beginning of the film, it says the film you are about to see is true, was a response to being lied to by the government about things that were going on all over the world, including Watergate, the oil crisis, and the Vietnam War. And the lack of sentimentality and the brutality of things that he noticed while watching local news, and whose graphic coverage was epitomized by showing brains spilled all over the road, led to his belief that man was the real monster here, just wearing a different face. So I put a literal mask on the monster in my film.
Love it.
Love that.
Time hasn't changed much, has it?
No, not at all.
I also think that's interesting, though, to call Leatherface the monster. When it's like...
Well, he is the one killing people.
But it's like still so very clear to me that like there is some level of like manipulation in that character and like some level of abuse. And like it's
100%.
Very clear throughout the film that he kills out of fear in multiple instances. Not all of them. But like the first guy that comes into his house, it's like a scared moment, hits him with the hammer.
Like he like squeals.
It's like it's almost fear of getting in trouble, and after he breaks the door with the chainsaw, that's when the cook is like beating the shit out of him at the table. And he's like terrified. Not defending Leatherface, but great character, and I think that like
not
it is
murderer,
interesting.
But there's
like
layers to the quote unquote villains of the movie.
There's not
so
really
good.
There's
not layers to the victims.
No, not really.
But there is layer to
the family's so compelling. It's fantastic.
I did think it was really interesting thinking about this movie in relation to Vietnam.
Yeah, I mean...
that was the one that like really stuck out to me.
A lot of 70s movies, I guess. You have to think about that. Star Wars was also about
100%, yeah.
Being desensitized to violence and how we are like towards animals and how the news kind of does make us desensitized towards violence towards people. We see a shooting every day in terms of like mass shootings. Yeah. And we see that on Twitter and someone's brain splatters on the ground.
Thinking about that, like, it resonates even more now. I mean, especially because we have phones and news accessible to us 24/7. Like, it doesn't fucking end ever.
It's funny he said all that because I also read recently he was tried to tone the gore down because he wanted to get a PG rating. Because this was prior to PG-13.
I know, I saw that.
So he was like, that's why almost all like the chainsaw, you don't actually see the chainsaw like cut anybody. It's all like in your head. And I think it ends up doing the opposite because it makes it way scarier when you don't see it. And you're just thinking about a chainsaw cutting Franklin in half as he's there, or a woman being put on a meat hook. And as you see that hook, you almost feel it yourself as she goes on it. But you don't see anything. You just like know that it happens. And I think he played himself because I think it becomes way scarier. And he got that R rating very quick.
Yeah, he got that. There was no reality that in which this would ever be PG. Mm-hmm. The concept of that is hilarious.
Jaws got PG, right?
I mean, that's definitely more PG than this. Not that I would say Jaws is PG.
There's some gross gore in that. There's lots of blood.
No, there's definitely more gore. I think the violence is just different.
I mean, violence. Yeah, it's much more different. I guess violence of people against people versus like nature versus people.
All right,
I don't know.
Comment below, guys. Is Jaws a horror movie?
Yes,
it's on
it is.
Every horror list.
It is, and it's one of the best movies ever made.
I struggle to put shark movies or like Jurassic Park or something on like a list of horror movies. I wouldn't put Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park's like an adventure movie, but Jaws is a horror movie. It's a creature feature.
Yeah.
So if Frankenstein, Frankenstein's more dark pictures. What's any of the old creature features? Creatures from the Black Lagoon. If that's a horror movie, then so is this.
Jaws.
We'll call Frankenstein a creature feature. I'll take that back.
Alright. Well, beyond that, I just kind of wanted to see where you would rate this one on a scale of 1 to 10. And if we just kind of like missed anything that you wanted to talk about.
I don't think we missed anything. I just think, like you said, the characters are great, top to bottom. The acting is great. It's 80 minutes. Hell yeah, we love an 80-minute horror movie.
Blessing.
It's amazing, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. So you're just that tension, that fear stays 100%. With you the whole time.
I think the pacing's really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It accelerates as we go.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I didn't talk about one scene, and it's when they're like, "We're gonna let Grandpa kill Sally," and they put her over the bucket, and he's holding the sledgehammer. He's not strong enough, and they're trying to like do it for him, and it is maybe the most tense scene in the movie for me.
Homeboy really did use a hammer near her head.
But
he was aiming for the floor.
They're trying to like help him.
No, I know, but like I was reading about the filming, he was aiming for the floor, but like he's really using a hammer near her head, like inches from her head. This movie cannot be made today. No, 100%. And he even said, Hooper said after, like, I think everyone was really pissed at me for a while, and like probably took years to like get over.
No. But like worth it. I'm sorry. It's worth it. This movie's so good.
I don't know. If I were Sally and my finger got cut open on film...
It looked great.
I would be pretty pissed. I'd be like, all right, well, increase my pay by this many zeros
Nothing looks
today.
like blood, like real blood. That's not true. The fake blood they use in her face at the end is also great.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
I'm just being a jerk. But that scene with the hammer is just awesome, and I think like so tense to put yourself in the situation of they're just like, yeah, let's let Grandpa do it. And he just like... can't even, and finally she's given the chance to get out and,
why you don't
make
let
it to
old
the road.
people do anything.
Yeah,
just kidding. We're not ageist here. We don't have grandparents anyway.
But I don't think I missed anything. I think it's just great. There's so many memorable images. Like I said, that last scene of her in the truck screaming and screams turning to laughs is something like burned into my head. Mm-hmm. And Leatherface dancing. It's just great. I'm giving this. This gets a solid like 9 out of 10 for me. I don't even know what can make it a 10 out of 10. I just don't. I think it's hard to put a lot of things up there. I'm scared to put anything, but maybe in a few months I bump it up to a 10, but easily a 9.
I don't have a rating in mind. I'm just laughing because it's not that.
Not for you? You're just a hater.
I am a certified hater of like a lot of things, not just this movie. Like I'm just kind of a turd. I would say like the part of me that likes it and appreciates it and thinks it's like a great piece of art would say it's like an 8 point something.
That's good.
8.4.
That's better than I thought you were going to give it.
But the part of me that's just like a viewer trying to watch something I enjoy would give it like a 5.
This is cheating. You just have to give it a rating.
Well, I can't do that.
Give it a rating. It's arbitrary. It's all bullshit anyway.
My decimals mean something, but only to me.
No, but you can have 2 ratings.
I think I can. I think you can
fine.
like appreciate something for like the art that it is, but it doesn't mean it's for you.
Sure.
Like I read Mrs. Dalloway in high school and I loved analyzing the shit out of it, but did I like the book and did I have fun reading it? Fuck no.
Fine. I think you're coward's way out on this one.
You know what? That's probably true, but, I'm going to own it.
It's a 9. Go watch this movie. Everyone should see this movie at least once. That's what I'll say. And I think you agree by giving
I would agree with that, even if it wasn't for me.
Just go to feel gross and have a good time and look at some great camera work.
Okay, but my question...
What?
This or Nightmare on Elm Street? Because I know that you
love I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
And I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
I
think it's like a work of art.
They're so different. I think from top to bottom in this movie,
I think
it does it better.
I think
Texas Chainsaw Massacre does it better.
But I like Nightmare.
But I love Nightmare on Elm Street, and it has its highs are just so different. But like from a full product, I think Texas Chainsaw is the superior film. I'm sorry.
I agree. No, I agree.
I'm sorry to everybody because
I agree. But would I give Nightmare on Elm Street a higher rating for me?
You love
yeah,
that movie.
100%.
I love that movie
I love
too.
that movie so much.
Well, we'll get to that one at some point.
Well, that is all we have for this week. Again, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Matt Hanna.
And we thank you for tuning in. If you have any recommendations for us, let us know. If not, stay tuned next week for us to love and or complain about another spooky film.
Heck yeah. See y'all soon.